put a sweatshirt on, so.
Me too, Laura.
Well, hello. We are live and we are chatting with three wonderful AI experts about how you can use AI in your career services. And I don't know about you three, but one of the things I've heard recently from people is I was so hesitant to try it. And then once I tried it, oh, you can't stop me. And so what I thought we'd do today is talk about what's one way that you see people could get started quick, easy, not going to take a huge ramp up time to get some value out of using AI in their career services. And we've got three excellent panelists with us here today. Denise Bittler has been teaching and working with AI with career thought leaders for quite a while, and even before then. So Denise, and then Laura Johnson, who's going to talk a little bit about using AI in your business. And she's been experimenting and doing some great work with that. And then Arthur Hughes, who's been using it not only in his own career services, but on a college campus. So we're just going to have a chat and we're going to talk about at least three ways that you could use AI in your career services today to save you time and get better results. So Denise, what's your top tip for people to get some value out of using AI?
All right. So my first tip, first off, is don't get hung up on the prompts. So that's one of the things I hear from people that are just starting out is, I don't know how to write prompts. And forget writing a prompt. Talk to AI. Have a conversation with AI. And know that you're not going to get it right or incomplete in just a single prompt. I have been using this for, a year and a half or longer. And I'll type something in and it'll give me a response. And I go, ooh, hadn't thought about that. So what about this? And so my prompts, I may be 15, 20 prompts deep by the time I get the final product of what I'm looking at. So that probably would be my first thing. Don't get hung up on the prompts. Talk to it, ask it questions, push back. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, no, you're not, you're full of crap, basically, because it'll say, I can't do this or I can't do that. And it had just done it. So push back. Don't take it at face value. Always push back. Always check, research, confirm. Even in Perplexity, where it gives you the hyperlinks for where it got the information, click on it, check, because it may be interpreting the information differently than you would interpret it, or it's interpreting it in a way that's not really accurate. So that would probably be the biggest piece for those just starting out that are in the career service. You're a resume writer. One of the things I love is I use it. I've created a prompt that allows me to enter a client's current resume and the 3 to 5 job postings they've sent me and create intake call questions for me. So questions to get clarity on their current resume, to get the context, the quantifiables, and then to look at the job postings, compare it to their resume and say, okay, here are the top 15 key requirements, key skills. Now look at the resume. Is there anything that's not even covered in the resume? If not, okay, create questions that I can use with my clients, and then create questions to identify their passion, their leadership style, those types of things. And one of the things that I saw was people that have been doing the resume writing for years. I can do it quicker myself. That's fine. But I bet you if you try this, they're gonna come back with something on, I never thought of that. I didn't think to ask that. And that's one of the things, and Arthur and I have this conversation all the time. I consider it my aha prompter. I know what I'm doing and I can do this. And then I'll run a prompt and I go, ooh, yeah, didn't think about that. That's a great tool. So don't get caught up if you're newly starting with it. Don't get caught up on writing the prompts. And if you're in career services for a while and you've been hesitant to do it because, you think you can do it faster, give it a try, because it's a great sounding board.
I love that. Yeah, there is no perfect prompt. And you can spend a whole bunch of time crafting it with the 3 pieces or 4 pieces or whatever you've read. And is that really saving you as any time? I think that's maybe why people are hesitant. They think, oh, it's going to take 10 minutes to write the perfect prompt. No, right. Just go to the system, ask it a question, and get going. Mm-hmm. Anything you would add, Arthur or Laura, about prompting?
Yeah, I think, well, I think Denise really addressed it. You do need to, if you're first getting into this, I think that's where a lot of people do get a little hung up and are afraid to use it because they think that, they're not going to get the type of output they need. I think they really need to realize that, it's built as a conversational tool. I mean, this generative AI is built on the model to respond to you in human-like response based on what your input is. And the whole industry has been talked about. They even make it sound so difficult, right? Prompt engineering, right? So I've got to be an engineer to do this, right? I need to have, no, that's furthest from the point. And I think just opening up a conversation, keeping things simple. And when the response isn't what you think it is, ask a follow-up question like you would in a normal conversation. I think that's the best approach. You'll start to figure it out. One of the tricks that I found with that is that once you get to a certain output that you finally feel like, oh, thank goodness, we're finally where I got to where I wanted, is just ask at the end of the conversation, just ask it, based on this and the output that we finally got to, what prompt should I have written at the beginning to get to this much quicker? So start to think about how this can be a little bit of a partner with you. And if you kind of talk through it as if it is another person, and that's maybe one of the risks of this thing too, is people start to get that kind of mindset. Is that the case? But the reality is it learns from the conversation as you go through, and as you start to get to the point, you'll start to figure out how to write a better prompt for the next time. Make sure you keep notes. I use a product that's from Microsoft called OneNote, and I keep my prompts in there for things that I do on a repetitive basis. And I think that's kind of helped me build the skill level. And then once I start to get 2 or 3 of those in place, you start to get a little bit of a feel for what a better prompt looks like. And then you just continue to build that skill. It's like building any other skill that you don't have. It just takes time. It takes practice, repetition. You're going to make a ton of mistakes, but the beauty of it is you can just redirect the conversation and start it over if you need to even. So I kind of add to that to say, that's we're kind of building on what Denise said.
And AI learns your tone, your voice, what your expectation for the output is. So what you're saying, Arthur, really take the time and correct it and make sure it understands, yes, this is good. Because I'll do things like, yep, that's exactly what I was looking for. And because then it learns what and you'll see over time, it gets better and better at giving you what you expect.
Yeah, and I really love that collaborative approach and partnership that you both have been talking about. And from a business standpoint, I think one of the key things is knowing who your target audience is. Get really clear on who do I want to speak to, any demographics you have on that target, anything like that. Know before you get started, and you can provide that to the AI system. Here's who I'm targeting and here's who I'm talking to. And also, I think the other side is knowing yourself. What kind of conversations do you have? What kind of style? What is your approach? And what are you offering? You can't offer the world to your target. So what is your expertise? And make sure the AI system understands that. And then again, from a business standpoint, they're a wonderful marketing partner. And that play back and forth and that conversation back and forth is how you would work with a marketing team member. And it becomes really fun just to test things out and play around with it. So
Totally agree.
Well, and I think too, Laura, as you're saying, you have a virtual assistant, but with this, you can have 3 virtual assistants. And people often say, oh, do you use Claude? Do you use ChatGPT? And I was like, why choose? Right? In 2 seconds, I can plug the same prompt into 3 different systems and have 3 virtual assistants giving me their ideas. If I'm looking for, give me an outline for this, or give me a headline for that, or a title, or write me a paragraph about this. If I use all 3 systems, then I can use the language that I like the best from each. And it's going to sound better because I'm really being careful not to necessarily copy and paste what it's writing.
Yeah, I would add to that. I love that analogy, Marie. I think I was actually we had not a symposium, but an innovation day yesterday at the university that I'm at. And we were talking, it was an AI day, talking about what we've done this semester. And one of the participants there brought it up, and you mentioned like 3 partners. She called them 3 interns. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a great analogy. Now, her point, and I'll get to that here in a second, is that if you don't give it a kind of role, context, and tone that you're looking for, it really is like working with 3 interns, because you kind of give them some direction and you don't know where they're going to go. And that's kind of what you get from AI if you don't give it those things. But if you give it context, if you give it role, you give it structure, you give it you give it kind of a box to work in, then you actually, I do believe, have those 3 partners that can give you good feedback on those types of things. And I'm also glad you brought up the different tools too, because I think that's a key thing. Is you have to find one that kind of works best with you. And now all of them can do very, very similar things, but each of them have little nuances, little differences that makes them a little bit unique. And I think everybody tends to find one that they prefer over the others. And I would encourage everybody to use the sort of the name brand tools and figure out which one kind of feels right for you.
Yeah, I love that. And it, like you said, if you give it context, but then like Denise said, it also learns that context. So I don't have to tell it every single time my whole backstory, but sometimes I'll say, remember, your audience is career coaches and resume writers, because especially for my business, sometimes it gets confused and it starts writing for the job seeker instead of writing for my audience, which is other career coaches and resume writers. But if I just say, remember, then I feel like it does a really good job of writing what I'm asking it to write. And I do think that, I don't know, I'd love your thoughts on this. I think sometimes people don't want to use it because they're afraid of something that I have found to be true, is that sometimes it's better than I am. And I have to be okay with that, right? Like it is better than I am sometimes coming up with ideas. We were doing a 5 lives exercise for a new class that I was teaching to high school counselors. I've never taught high school counselors before. So my usual 5 lives activity was too vague. And so I went on to ChatGPT and I said, I'm creating this 5 lives activity. Give me some ideas. And they were awesome. And they were like, it was like, okay, that's better than what I could have come up with. But what we forget is that it wouldn't have gotten there if I didn't have the question. So I still win. I'm still better because I had that idea. But it like came up with things I never would have come up with. And we came up with this very structured 5 lives activities for high schoolers that were just amazing.
Yeah, we talked about that, Denise and I, not too long ago, about the fact that there are often moments in there where we have, we've thought we've kind of covered everything, and it gives us, it gives us an element or two, like, oh, for God's sakes, that is a great, thing that I may need to make sure that I include in this. So the opportunity that gives you to not only from the detail level, but also just as an overview. I use it a lot to create my agendas for the meetings, and I can tell you how many times where I'm sort of focused in on the one thing that I want to get from it, and I forget all of the other elements. And when you use it for something like that, even for something as simple as planning an agenda for a meeting or for a group session or whatever you happen to be planning for, it just does a nice job of, in literally 30 seconds, right? It kind of gives you a little overview that gives you a lot to think about. And, that's nice. Sorry, Denise.
No, sorry about that, Arthur. And two, like if you're an expert in a certain area, you tend to talk at this level because you know it so well, and that's the level that you know it at. I'm teaching a class. I'm teaching it to people who have never done this before. So AI has been phenomenal for me to take it from this level to, okay, instead of maybe 1 bullet, maybe it needs 5 bullets, because I have to assume that not everybody knows the 1, 2, 3, 4 that led to where my mind is at right now.
Sure.
So to Arthur's point, that has been very helpful for me to be able to look at it from different angles, different perspectives. And from a job seeker, like if you're working with a job seeker, that can be very helpful too, because again, they're an expert at what they do, but they may be interviewing with somebody who is a recruiter who doesn't know quantum physics. So they need to be able to have a conversation based on the audience, not just based on what they know. So again, just little things like that, that it almost forces you to take a step back before you take the steps forward.
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Laura, tell us how else you're using it in your business.
So just along the lines of what we've been talking about, I love to use Claude and Perplexity mainly for research. I love using that for research, but Claude and ChatGPT as well. When I'm trying to think of a program or a series that I want to create for social media. And again, like Denise said, you know it so well that sometimes you forget things that other people need to know. So going into Claude and saying, I want to create a program on age is wisdom. And I'm targeting these people. Create an outline for 10 posts that I can do. And it will create, and then you look at the outline that it creates and you say, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought to do a post on that. Or I wouldn't have thought to do a post on that. You can take that and you can create an outline for a video series. And it might look a little different when it's a video series. So you can have a lot of fun just creating programs, creating posts, creating blogs, getting ideas quickly. And in the old days, not so old days, but a few years ago, we would have Googled stuff, and then we would have looked at all sorts of different things and compared different programs. And this does it for you, and brings it all back into one place much more quickly.
Yeah, I love the brainstorming piece of it. And even if you're going to write your own content, now you've got the ideas. My favorite way to use it is writing poll questions or engagement questions. So it's one of the hardest things I've found for our social media class, that coaches are like, oh, how do I write a poll for LinkedIn? And if you put in your audience and then you say, what kinds of poll questions could I ask on LinkedIn? It'll write you 5 polls, and then you can choose from them. You can mix and match, and it makes it really easy to think about how you could engage people in those types of questions.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So we've gone through, we've kind of done one tip each. The other thing that I wanted to do, and we can kind of circle around here, is we're coming up on our symposium in April, and each of you is going to present on a related topic here related to AI. So we'll start with Denise. Tell us what people are going to get from your presentation, and kind of what is it that they will see in your presentation that they'll get and learn from that.
Okay. So Arthur and I are both, we're tag teaming. We're doing a group exercise, a group presentation, and really focusing on using AI as a practitioner, as a career service practitioner. And one of the sections that we're currently working on is these prompt writing reminders, tips, tricks, ideas. We've talked about a few of them today, as far as helping AI learn your voice, learn the most effective way to have a conversation with AI, and just learn. Have you learned from AI, but AI learned from you over and over as you go. So that's probably one of the sections of our presentation. I'll let Arthur talk about his, but one of the things that we're hoping to do as we get closer to the symposium is reach out to people who are signed up and tell them, this is kind of what we're thinking of. Are there things you'd like us to cover? Because Arthur and I and Laura live this pretty much every day. And when we get to the symposium, there are going to be people at all different experience levels. So we want to make sure that it's something that is helpful, that adds value, that they come away with some takeaway items, like we do monthly in the Sandbox office hours. It's those constant takeaways, so that you have action items to implement going forward.
I love that. Yeah. All right. So Arthur, what about you in terms of what you're going to cover? And you bring a little bit of a different lens with the on campus as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that I'll talk about, or I was thinking about discussing at length, is really helping us to, because we talk a lot about it in terms of, in our toolkit of helping us with resumes, or helping us with LinkedIn, or helping us with, writing an executive bio, those types of things, which is all well and good. But I think one of the things that we may want to talk a little bit more about in trying to, as Denise said, we are neck deep in this stuff. So I think we may forget our own journey to a certain degree on how we got to where we are. And one of the things that I want to focus on is helping us understand our clients better. So yeah, we can use it to do a little bit of research on, upload the resume, upload the job descriptions and those things. That doesn't help us understand the client and perhaps the market they're in, the type of roles that they're searching for, those types of things. And we can use AI to help us research and understand our client base in the markets that that maybe we don't have that intimate knowledge of. And but having that additional information might be able to help us target our questions much more effectively. So we can use it to kind of create onboarding questionnaire, those types of things to help us understand our clients better. It would allow us to, if we understand their role and the industry they're in, we can also be able to, create a model that allows us to, as we go through the steps of the process, to have that basic level of understanding where we'll be able to meet our client expectations, if not maybe a little quicker, but certainly more effectively over time. And then learning those types of things and learning how to use those tools to help us understand that, we can then actually learn to teach. And what I mean by that is, as we're going through this and help, kind of doing our own research, it'll give us the techniques that we can even give to our clients to say, you're going to be looking at this industry or this particular company. These are the types of things that you could do to help equip you to also then ask the better questions, as they're going through the process, as if they're doing an informational interview. How do I ask, what are some great questions that I could ask for that? So we could even use it in a kind of a coachable way, which is really what I do at the university level. I really teach them the basics, and then I teach them how to use AI to ask better questions to help them do their research more effectively, and and kind of equip them to be able to navigate those complexities in a much more effective way, so that they can really highlight what differentiates them from other people, when they're, in their job search, which I think is really the value that we can create. The documents are nice, which is great to kind of get them into the door, but how do you use the tool to really make you an excellent candidate or a better candidate than those you'd be competing with?
I love that. Yeah, there's so much coaching work that we can do with it, not just putting it out there for them to figure it out, right? Or brainstorm a whole bunch of ideas. I was just talking with other group of coaches about, pull it up while you're in session so that you could say, okay, what about these ideas is interesting? And what about these ideas isn't interesting? And then it's a coaching tool. It's not just because people say, oh, they get so overwhelmed because there's so many ideas. It's like, well, then let's bring it back into the coaching conversation and have it be a tool instead of just an output device.
Marie, Can I just point at one thing you just with what Arthur brought up, what you just brought up, and I hear this sometimes when we're in the sandbox, is that people are like, well, do you tell your clients? Do you let them know you're using AI? And that's, what you just described there. You pull up the screen, you show your clients. I teach my clients how to use AI to customize resumes, how to do the research on the company, customize the resume, customize the cover letter. The fact that they know I use AI, that they know that I am have integrated it into the process, is not an issue, because that's a knowledge base that they don't have, and that is an extra add-on that you could consider, or whatever. It's the bottom line is that you're using AI efficiently and ethically. And as long as you're doing it that way and you're not letting it do the rating for you, you're not letting it write the whole resume, you're not letting it do, it is perfectly okay to use it. And if you create it as a learning experience, an education, a coaching experience, it is a great tool to share with your clients. So don't be afraid. Don't feel like you're hurting your credibility or anything like that if they know you use AI. As long as you're doing it effectively and ethically, it can be a great add-on service.
I think to
Yeah.
add on to that is, we as career coaches, and experts in the field, so to speak, we know what good looks like. So yes, someone else could go to ChatGPT and say, help me write the resume. But we're able to use the tool in concert with our experience and knowledge and, what we learn from each other, right, through being involved in CTL and everything involved in that and all the certifications that we do. That's our basis of expertise that allows us to take this information and use it the most effectively. And so, yeah, everything that Denise said is right. And then we can use it as a tool to really enhance the offerings that we have, for our clients.
All right, Laura, how about you? You're going to do a presentation on using it in business. What do people walk away from with that?
Yeah, so we all love rabbit holes, and so I've had an opportunity to go down a rabbit hole and play around and test this, and discovered how great AI is as a marketing teammate as long as you know how to collaborate with it. So in my session, we're going to talk about practical ways to make AI your marketing teammate, creating engaging content for social media, even to understanding, again, your client, your target client enough to ask AI to help create packaged approaches to offerings that you want to make for your client, crafting personalized campaigns that are going to resonate too with your clients, and blending all of that with your unique style. So understanding yourself, like I said earlier, well, and also understanding who your target is. And in the session, we're going to talk both, it serves both the independent practitioners who are looking to make marketing more efficient, and the university professionals who are looking for different ways to get their messages across. Just understanding that technology should make your life easier, not more complicated. So with me, it's practical tools that help you scale your business or scale your practice while staying true to your values.
I love that. Yeah. And I think that's the other thing people worry about. Oh, if I use AI to write, it won't sound like me. And yeah, if you just popped off and went and said, write a blog for me, that's probably true. But as you said, if you give it that background and of who you are, what you think about, what's important to you and what's important to your client. So I hear a lot about, make AI write in your style. It's like, well, that's only half the equation. The other equation is what's going to connect to your audience. So I love that you've been playing around with that. And I really love, you've told me a few times about how you brainstorm new services, you brainstorm new ways to offer it or package it and get out of that rut maybe of the way that you've been communicating it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And as I said earlier with social media, I was overwhelmed, and I was not using social media most efficiently. And now I can create an outline of a series, and it just makes it a lot less daunting then for me to go in and use the tools to create my posting, use Vista Social, which I guess is, maybe it's not an AI tool, but maybe it is, I don't know, to schedule those posts. Life is just so much easier now that I've let go of the reins. I can be controlling, but I've let go of the reins and let AI be my partner in this. And life is so much easier.
I love that. I think all of us can be, right. And rightfully so. We're worried about our brand and making sure that stays clean. And it really doesn't take that much time to get the tool to help you do that and not sit back and be so worried about it. So I'm glad that you're going to be helping people figure that out. So I'm just so excited. We're going to see you all in Baltimore 2025, April 6th through the 9th. And you can join us there as well. The early bird deadline is going to end December 20th. So you have some time to buy yourself that Christmas present that you've always wanted. All right. Join us in Baltimore in 2025. And I can't wait to see the three of you in person again as well. Thank you.
It's nothing beats networking in person.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you, everyone. And thanks for tuning in. If you've been joining us, let us know. We had Betsy say hello. So hello, Betsy. And if you're watching the replay, drop replay. If you have any questions about the symposium, let me know that as well. And we'd be happy to answer those. All right. Well, I will see you three soon. Have a wonderful weekend. And thanks for sharing a little bit about how you use AI.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank
Hope
you.
to see everybody in Baltimore.
Yes.
Bye.